Hey everyone, welcome to Pastor Play. So today we have Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves in theaters nationwide March 31st. So we open with Chris Pine's Edgkin, a spy, warrior, and thief, in hand-to-hand combat slash axe wielding Michelle Rodriguez's Holga Kilgore as they attempt to gain a pardon from their prison sentence for crimes of grand larceny and skullduggery. And if you want to know what skullduggery is, it's basically dishonorable dealings and trickery conducting behavior. Basically, they just being dishonest. Then, after escaping, Edgkin and Holga set off to find his daughter and reclaim the Tablet of Reawakening, leading to a series of quests in which the group are joined by former teammate Sorcerer Simon, played by Justice Smith, and new allies Druid Doric, played by Sophia Lillis, and Paladin Zinc, played by Regé-Jean Page. And now, off just in case, a druid is a magician with the ability to transform into animals, and a paladin is a holy knight crusading in the name of good and order, and is a divine spellcaster. Then we have former con man, but now Lord Forge, played by Hugh Grant, who was once part of Edgkin's team before, now has become one of the villains, along with Sophia, played by Daisy Head, the leader of the Red Wizards that has her own agenda for the people of Neverwinter. Now, the cast is actually the best thing about this film. Everybody, they all kind of bounce and click off of each other. There's a lot of like teamwork make the dream work kind of camaraderie. To me, it's really funny. This is to me a family film. I think kids will enjoy it and also adults. But the cast, they really complement each other. Michelle Rodriguez is great as kind of like the kick your dollar sign kind of muscle, even though she's not necessarily the muscle, but she's just kind of like that kind of says little but has like the heart on her sleeve kind of fighter. You have Chris Pine, who's charming. You have Justice Smith, who's like the insecure sorcerer who doubts his own power, but again has heart. And was it Regé-Jean Page as the Paladin Zinc? He's only in there for about maybe I say about somewhere about maybe 10 to 15 minutes, but his whole fight sequence scene and all that, that's really great. It's really cool. And he has that kind of like dry humor but it actually really works, kind of where anything that you say, he takes it literally and not, if you're like being ironic, he doesn't see the value in being ironic. It's like, well, just say what you want to say. And he takes everything that you say literally versus if you're being like sarcastic. But he's very funny in a very kind of dry humor kind of way. And he steals a lot of the scenes that he's in. Hugh Grant is great. The actress playing Sophia, the druid. I mean, like a lot of the main characters. Honestly, they all have something that you probably will like, and I liked mostly all of the characters. Even I'd say one of the villains, not necessarily both of the villains. I will say two there's also a scene where it's very reminiscent of the Avengers Ultron, where they were fighting in the well, and you have all the different Ultron bots coming at them, and they're all like using their powers, and it's kind of spinning like that. There's a scene in here that's kind of like that, where all the main characters are fighting against one of the evil villains, and it's kind of like everybody's attacking and the villain is doing the thing. It's like a really cool scene. There's actually also another scene that's very reminiscent too of the first Avengers, where the Hulk is with Loki, and he's like beating. you know, beating them back and forth on the ground in Stark's condo apartment or whatever. And he's like puny god. But there's a scene that's similar to that too, in an extent. I'm not saying that this movie is copying those films, but there were just scenes that were like that. Like I remember seeing those scenes for the first time in those films, and like, being kind of like, that's really cool how it looked visually, and then also just thinking it was really funny as well too. So this movie has like a lot of charm, a lot of humor. I think a lot of people would get the jokes. They do a lot of. There are quite a few flashbacks, but they add to the overall story. They're not just there for there. They're showing you versus just telling you. So as they're telling you the story, they're actually showing it to you. And so all the flashbacks actually add to the overall story. I think when you come right in, it kind of comes in right away and it just keeps going straight. To me, the pacing is really good. I overall do think it's a pretty good script. And I will say too that there's also this scene where basically it's the different creatures they have, but it's like this like cat tiger baby who ends up getting swallowed by this giant fish. And the only reason I thought that was funny is because usually it's the other way around, but I just thought that was kind of ironic. But I just thought that was a funny scene too. um, I would say the CGI isn't bad, but this isn't like a Marvel movie. But even though people are saying the Marvel, the effects aren't that great, but I say for here they do work. I've always been a fan of like magic and Harry Potter, and again, I've talked about this. Harry Potter charm just shows where they're using magic and powers. I've always liked stuff like this. Um, I don't think you need to be a Dungeons and Dragons fan to see the appeal of this film. It very instantly kind of puts you into that world, and you're just kind of going on the journey between the different like kingdoms and the different kind of underworld and the different places where you kind of go. You're just kind of going with them along this journey. um, is it predictable? Will you see the ending coming? Maybe. I mean, but it's still, I think it does a really good job of keeping you entertained and intertwined in the story as it progresses. It is a little bit over 2 hours, but honestly, I didn't really feel it. I think everything that's there really adds to the overall film. And honestly, I just had a good time. I mean, I kind of feel like a little kid just with the different things that they kind of have, the different creatures, the different magics. I hope this movie's successful, at least enough to do a second one, and hopefully they, hit it out of the park. But I really did like this film overall. I don't really honestly have any complaints. I'm not saying it's like the greatest thing I've ever seen, but it's kind of like a superhero film, in the space of like a Harry Potter or like maybe like a Lord of the Rings, but I wouldn't call this Lord of the Rings. And spoiler, there are some dungeons and there are some dragons, but it's not trying to be those films because this is its own kind of IP, and people who know that world know that probably will see all the hidden meanings and the all the different notes and things that I probably didn't see. But I just overall like the film. I don't really have any complaints about it. I mean, I would say it's a play for me. If you like magic, you like kind of fantasy, adventure, storytelling, um, you know, I would say give this film a watch. If your kids like stuff like this is also a pretty good family film. There are some like kind of dark moments to it, but it's not, I don't think it'll be too scary. Um, But other than that, yeah, I mean, it's a play for me. I don't really have any more to say. Every a lot of every all of the cast clicks. They complement each other very well. It's funny. When they need to do the actions are really good. The fight sequences are really good too. When people are using their powers and magic, I think that's done pretty well. I don't know if this movie had the budget of like a Marvel film or a DC film, but again, it's a good watch. I had fun either way. Other than that, if you like this review, hit the like button. If you have any comments, comment below. Please subscribe and check out some of my other videos. Goodbye.